And when you were little, sometimes, if you were really happy, you couldn't say, "I'm so happy right now." But you could laugh. And when you laughed and giggled, the people that took care of you could tell that you were happy. So, even though it's a fun and imagination story about horses talking, I don't think it's silly. I think it's actually a very, very good idea. So, let us start in the beginning. Chapter 1. Do you see the horses? They're all playing. When I was very young, my life was gloriously happy. I galloped with other colts by day and slept by my mother's side at night. But when I was 4 years old, a man named Squire Gordon came to talk to my master, the horse breeder. He stroked my black coat and the white star on my forehead. "Beautiful," he exclaimed. "Break him in, and I shall buy him." Then he touched the white patch on my back. "It's like a beauty spot," he said. "I'll call him Black Beauty." I shook with fear. I was going to be sold? Would I have to leave my mother? What was breaking in? "Well, you must learn to wear a saddle and a bridle," my mother explained. Then the groom thrust a cold steel bar into my mouth and held it there, with straps over my head and under my throat, and there was no escape. At first the bar frightened me, but with kind words and treats of oats, I learned to get used to it. Just before I was taken to Squire Gordon, my mother spoke to me for the last time. "Now, Black Beauty," she whispered, "be brave. All young horses must leave their mothers to make their way in the world. But just remember, never bite or rear or kick, and whatever happens, always do your best." When Squire Gordon's groom arrived, he jumped on my back and we rode away. I cantered through twisting villages until we reached a long drive, apple orchards stretched out on either side. Do you see that? The groom led me into a large airy stable with plenty of corn and hay. A friendly whinny from the next stall made me look up. A little pony with a thick mane and tail was poking his head over the rail. "I'm Merrylegs," he said. "Welcome to Birtwick Park." "That was John who rode you here," Merrylegs went on. "He's the best groom around, and Squire Gordon is the best owner a horse could have. You'll be happy here." Look, there's Merrylegs. Looks very friendly. A tall chestnut mare glared over Merrylegs. "Trouble is, no one knows how long a good home will last," she snapped. "I've had more homes than you've had hot oats." "Meet Ginger," said Merrylegs. "She bites. That's why she keeps getting sold, even though she's so handsome." Angrily, Ginger tore at wisps of hay in her manger. "You don't know anything," she muttered. "If you've been through what I've been through, you'd bite too." Poor Ginger, I thought. What could have made her so unhappy? Chapter 2, Ginger's Story. Over the next few days, John took me out. At first we went slowly, then we trotted and cantered, and ended up in a wonderful speedy gallop. "Well, John, how is my new horse?" asked Squire Gordon. First rate, sir, replied John, grooming me carefully. Black Beauty's as swift as a deer, as gentle as a dove, and as safe as houses. A lady's horse, perhaps? Asked the squire's wife, feeding me pieces of apple. Oh, yes, Miss Gordon. He'll be a good carriage horse, too. We could try him out with Ginger, John suggested. So I was paired with Ginger to pull the carriage. During our journeys, she told me the story of her life. If I've had your upbringing, I might be good-tempered like you, she began. My first memory is of a stone being thrown at me. Poor you, I said, but Ginger hadn't finished. When my first owner broke me in, he shoved a painful bit in my mouth, she went on. I reared up in pain, and he beat me with his whip. And then he cut off my tail. Well, why? I cried. I noticed that Ginger had no tail, but I thought she must have lost it in an accident. Fashion, Ginger replied bitterly. Some people think horses look better with a stump, and now I have nothing to whisk flies away with. See that? No tail. She sighed. It's agony when they crawl on me and sting. That's horrible, I snorted. And that's not all. My first owner sold me to a rich London gentleman who put me in a bearing rein. A what? I asked. It's a tight rein that pulls your neck all the way back. Imagine your tongue pinched, your jaw jerked upright, and your neck on fire with pain. Everyone thought I looked wonderful, but oh, how it hurt. Kindness wins us, not painful whips, said Ginger. But we're lucky we're here, she said. Squire Gordon hates bearing reins, and John is teaching young Joe, our new groom, to be just as good as he is. I'm trying to behave now because everyone is so kind. Chapter 3. Horses know best. Soon after this, Miss Gordon fell ill. We didn't see her for weeks. Then one stormy night, John rushed to the stables. Ooh, that does look like a stormy night. Best foot forward, Beauty, he cried. We must ride as hard as we can to fetch the doctor. Miss Gordon is as sick as can be. We galloped into the lashing rain while thunder and lightning raged around us. Doesn't that look scary? Leaves and twigs danced in the air, torn from their branches by a savage wind. As we got to the main road, a terrible splitting sound crashed through the darkness. A huge tree had fallen in our path. Gathering all my strength, I jumped and sailed over it. At last we reached the bridge. I could hear the river roaring, but the moment I stepped onto the bridge, I stopped. Come on, Beauty, John urged. I couldn't move. I could tell something was wrong. John gave me a light touch of the whip, but I stayed like a statue. Just then the moon lit up the bridge and we saw the far end had collapsed into matchsticks, tossing in the raging water. Well done, Beauty, John cried. We might have drowned. But I'm afraid it's 10 miles to the next bridge. We'll have to hurry. Gallop and get there. Gallop and get there, I murmured to myself. Gallop and get there. The faster I said it, the faster I went. I raced home with both John and the doctor on my back. I'd never been so tired in my life. You're steaming like a kettle, said young Joe. You're too hot for your blanket. Here, have some ice-cold water. All through the night I shivered and sweated and longed for John to come. When he arrived, he was horrified. Joe, you've made Beauty sick. He's caught a bad chill. You should have given him his blanket, and that icy cold drink did him no good at all. I didn't know, Joe murmured. Didn't know, said John. You make it your business to know, and if you don't know, ask. I'm sorry, wept Joe. I didn't mean to hurt him. But with careful nursing, I recovered. And Joe never forgot the lesson that he had learned. So we'll leave it there for now, friends. We'll resume tomorrow with chapter 4. What did you think of that story? Very exciting. What did you think about poor Ginger, the horse that bit? Now, we all know that biting isn't good. But could you imagine a horse being treated so badly that it bites? What do you do if you had a horse or a puppy or some other pet that had been treated so badly before you got it that it bit? What do you think you could do with a pet to keep it from biting? You wouldn't want to scare it, that's for sure. You'd want to be very kind and gentle. You wouldn't want to be loud or scary. You wouldn't want to frighten it. A lot of times animals will bite if they're frightened. What are some of the ways that you can take care of your pets to make sure they never get frightened and they never bite? I wonder if some of those same rules for how we take care of our pets are some of the same rules that we use with our friends. People friends. I suppose they are. Don't frighten your friends. Be gentle and kind. I think that people and animals really have a lot in common. Maybe more than you'd ever think. Well, I think it is time to end our little story time, but I'll be back tomorrow with chapter 4 from my very favorite book, Black Beauty.